Welcome home to the Flati family. We're so happy to be able to share this day with you in Pam's beautiful home today. This is home where faith and family meet. My name is Father Tim Donovan, parochial vicar at St. Bonaventure Parish in Huntington Beach, and this is Pam Hurwitz, my co-host.
I'm so happy to be here and so happy about our guest today, and just really happy to be doing this in my home. That just feels very appropriate.
It does.
Yeah.
It still smells like pumpkin spice here. We're still right before Thanksgiving, which I'm all about always coming in. We got a Christmas tree up, though.
I haven't, I know. I broke out. Okay. And I did put up one small little tree in here. But I was telling them I am going Christmas light this year. So that probably is a lot of my decorating you're looking at.
I mean, it's a beautiful tree. I wish you guys could see it. We'll have to start doing some video here.
It is. It looks great.
It does. Well, welcome, and to invite you to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your family and maybe what you guys do now in your life.
Sure. I'm Matt, and this is Elizabeth and our son, Luca.
And Luca is 10 and a half, going on 11 months old.
And he's a bundle of joy. We love every minute.
A bundle of joy and energy and just lots of smiles.
Only 10 and a half months, huh?
Only 10 and a half. He's a big boy.
Big boy for 10 and a half months. Yeah, that's how I was
big
too.
boy.
Say hi, son.
Do you have a couple nicknames for him we've heard earlier?
Yes, so we do.
Yeah, we call him a little meatball. Hi, son.
We found out recently that pasta is his favorite. And so meatball's kind of appropriate.
I love that.
Goes with the pasta.
I can hardly wait till he's like 16 and you yell it across somewhere. Okay. Little meatball.
I hope it'll stick, right?
He's a blast. He's actually really taken to music, which I'm excited for. I play guitar and ukulele, and he kind of lights up when we bring it out. So
Yeah, he dances. He really does enjoy music.
Fun.
I love that. Music's always been a huge part of my family. Well,
That's
all of
awesome.
us played music at some point.
that's awesome.
And either in the band in high school, and now we all play stringed instruments because like guitar and stuff. And my brother actually plays at our church on Sunday nights.
No way, that's awesome.
Yeah, with Christina
cool.
and Mary, they all play down there, so it's cool.
Cool.
I love how music does really bring families together.
Yeah.
You know, once somebody pulls something out, even if people are in other rooms, they'll tend to, the music really is a gathering point.
I don't know if this happens in your family, but like in mine, we have some piano players and singers. So on Christmas, always, without fail, my dad's side, we get around the piano and we sing Christmas carols with each other.
That's
And
awesome.
it's a really cool tradition. I mean, it's not something we ever plan. No one ever practices. We just like roll in on Christmas day, and
Sure.
after dinner's over and stuff's cleaned up and presents and stuff, we just get around the piano and we sing Christmas songs. I love that.
That sounds awesome.
That's a cool one too. So
Yeah, I think we would love that.
We would love that.
That could be one of our traditions. I mean, we do hope to, have Luca take piano lessons or encourage him if he likes the guitar and all that jazz. But
It's funny because I am from a sports family. And so I don't know how, because my mom, I have three brothers. So my mom, she put all of us I was in guitar lessons. Then she tried with my brothers to do a little piano and it didn't stick. And so we are always so sad when we hear these stories because we're like, do we need to rent a piano player to be able to do that? Like, how do we have that happen?
you know what you need? You guys need a player piano.
Okay.
And then you just press the player.
Yeah.
oh, there you go.
Okay.
And then you guys can sing on it.
Yeah.
There we go. That's a Christmas.
It's a great idea.
Have you guys ever seen those? Bishop Van actually has one. He has,
No
he has
way.
two like player
Yeah.
pianos.
I have seen
Wow.
that at his house.
And he has all these rolls and things. And every time people come to his house and stuff, he'll sing like old show tunes with them. It's
Oh,
kind
that's
of cool.
right.
It's a cool
I was
edge.
at a young adult night where he actually got on the piano, I think, and played something like that.
He's very good.
He does play quite a bit too, which is cool. So how'd you guys meet?
Actually,
Through youth ministry, and actually Pam was part
Pam
of
was
it.
kind of our matchmaker.
Oh.
Not gonna lie.
Homemaker, matchmaker extraordinaire. Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's just when you see two really good people, that it's so, I love when you have the opportunity to kind of notice that and possibly introduce them but they had already seen each other.
Yeah, we'd seen each other, but I do remember one day Pam, after a meeting, asked me, there's this guy I think you would have great conversations with. And it turned out, yeah, we did.
So it was nice. So youth ministries has always been like really dear to our heart since that's kind of where we met. I was working as a youth minister. Elizabeth was working as a youth minister, and so that's where our paths crossed, and we got to hang out ever since. So it's really fun, and yeah, we love it.
Nice. There's a lot of our young, faithful, young adult couples that were like have met in youth ministry
Yeah.
or youth ministers themselves. So that's very cool.
Yeah.
We're so happy you're able to join us today. And I know, especially in this crazy time right before Thanksgiving, it can be kind of crazy, but we're here today. The upcoming Sunday is Christ the King, King of the universe. And I think sometimes in our world, we have such a romantic vision of a king or a queen and these kind of things. I mean, how many people like woke up at 3 a.m. to watch the, what was it, coronation? Or
I did.
Did you watch? I don't think it's a bad thing, but
With Meghan Markle,
The wedding.
The wedding.
the
That's right.
wedding.
Yes, the
So
wedding.
we love this kind of like, and it's romantic, right?
Yeah,
like,
it
the
is,
castles and the
Yeah.
kings and queens and all these things. And I love the image. And I think sometimes when we think of kings or queens, we think of castles and all this kind of stuff, thrones and
Right.
all this. And, but Jesus wasn't a king in that same way. And I think in our gospel today, Pilate is struggling with that. He's going before him before crucifixion. They're calling him the King of the Jews. And he's like, what does that even mean? He's like, how are you a king? And where is your throne? And what does your dominion look like? And Jesus responds with this beautiful saying that kind of, I think, means or takes us to the center of what he means to be a king. He says, Jesus answered Pilate, you say I am a king. For this reason I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. And so more, I think Jesus' kingship is not about a physical kingship that would include a beautiful throne somewhere or a a lot of money or land and these kind of things. But his kingship belongs to him being our primary truth, that he wants our hearts to be his kingdom, our lives to be his kingdom, our churches, our homes, places that ordinary places. I don't think he wants to be off in a castle locked up behind walls, but he wants to be very much so a king who's close and intimate to his people, a king who can reign everywhere, especially in our minds and our hearts. And so yeah, what you guys' thoughts on Christ the King? Any thoughts on this one?
When I think about Christ as King, I often think of that beautiful song by Bethel, let the King of my heart be the fountain I drink from. And kind of this idea that God has a throne in my heart, that he doesn't long, like you said, to be up in a castle or anything like that, but that he wants to be present to us in the midst of the ordinary, in our everyday lives. And so for me, it makes sense that his kingdom wasn't, I don't know if it was misunderstood, but like it wasn't what people thought. And it still isn't what we think, because his wisdom isn't human wisdom, right? And his ways are very different than ours, but at the same time, he's everywhere and he is with us always. And I think that when I think about him being the king of my heart, I think about him wanting our devotion, like wanting us to be close in that manner, and that we're thinking about his love, and we share that love and our family and with our little son.
It's I see more and more some of these terms, especially for young girls. It's this, and well, any girls, but this daughter of the king, being used often, and it has a really sweet sound to it, when I hear that for myself as well, and I guess that's with the Christ the King piece. I think like the kingdom, when you're saying that, or this daughter of the king, I can feel more intimacy, because somehow, like you said, when I first hear king, it just sounds like, that isn't how I relate to, him. But then when I hear daughter of the king, that feels very personal to me. I don't know.
That somehow you're part of the court.
Yes.
You're not just the servant who's outside, raking in the dough for him, right? Or, planting the fields for him. But you're inside, like you're in the family.
Yeah.
Your royal family, basically.
Yes. Okay. That's what it is.
We are all royalty, Pam.
Maybe that's why we're so enthralled with the wedding. That fun king. Actually, kings in the Old Testament, interestingly enough, were the shepherds. Those were the ones who always got chosen as the kings. So even in that Old Testament understanding, king and shepherd were always very closely related. We see even like David and all the people, they were shepherds first. And so I think God takes that image too of kingship and wants to always associate it with being a shepherd, a king who is in service to his people, a king who wants to keep the sheep safe and close and within his kingdom. And so I think that that's also something he invites us into as well, is to be like close to him, right? If he's the king shepherd and we're the sheep, then that kind of closeness, he wants to keep us in the family, in the palace, and the things, and not to like separate us from the world, but for us to also go then and to be in that same kind of kingship to others.
That's awesome. I didn't really know that, but
I didn't
but
either.
it does make sense now that you say it, that and we've seen it a couple times, that like the qualities that it takes to be a good shepherd kind of lead into the qualities that would help make you a good king. So I like that. Thank you for sharing that.
Definitely. And they say that shepherds, the way that they were chosen were that they picked the shepherd with the most scars. Because he was the one who was willing to sacrifice the most for his sheep.
Sure.
So a shepherd who wasn't beat up at all probably had a couple sheep go,
Yeah.
But then we think of even the Christ the King being, how do you pick that shepherd? How did Christ become king? By his own shedding of his life on the cross, That's his throne.
Yeah.
And with the crown of the thorns and with the wounds of the cross, and like that's how far he's willing to go to keep the sheep in, and to keep us daughters and keep us sons. And so I think that's really,
We need that image more of king, of shepherd, of what you just shared. That's beautiful. The crown of thorns. I haven't thought of it that way either. So yeah.
I always think of that too. His throne was a cross and his crown was of thorns. It's just a different. It's a different imagination we have to get into to kind of, I think, understand it as well. Something cool happened at our baptisms as well. All of us, we were anointed with oil. Probably remember Luca's baptism, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did they pour the oil on his head, or they just anoint him with a little bit?
They just anointed him, with the oil. There were about
20
12 babies.
Yeah.
Wow.
I felt like 20 babies, but yeah. Which is good. That's joyful.
That is joyful.
It was a very joyful occasion. There was lots of joyful noise in the church.
When I do baptisms, I don't do it very often. I wanted to do it a little more, but I actually will take the chrism and pour it like a dot, like a quarter-sized dot on their heads, and I rub it into their whole head, and the smell is
It smells amazing. I do remember that distinctly.
He got the whole kind of anointing that only happens one other time in someone's life, and that's if you become a bishop. They pour the oil again on the crown of your head. Because then, did you remember the prayer that was prayed during that part?
I don't remember it off the top of my head, no.
So it said that we are anointed as priest, prophet, and king.
I do remember that.
Okay.
Now,
So
thank
what's
you.
cool is that like the kingship of Christ is not just his. Like he shares that with us as well. And that same kind of desire for, in family life. And how is that kingship lived out? I think primarily through the shepherding, through the caring, through the saying, to serving one another, and which is like the total life of a family, right?
Yes, absolutely.
As soon as we think it's like the family life's about me, that's when it starts to break down, right? Or even the parish life as a priest,
What have you guys found, now, because you're just scratching, you're in 11 months, but just any, observations about, this transition for you guys?
I mean, it's been awesome, but I think I found that the days that are the most enjoyable and the ones that are like the most fulfilling are the days where I do put Luca and Elizabeth first. Like I didn't wake up with a schedule or an agenda or anything like that. It was mostly, what do you guys want to do? What do we need to do?
Yeah.
What's on your agenda, you two? And then when that happens, I mean, it's the day. The day is way better.
Yeah.
And of course, there's like there are many more instances of things like that. But just when I wake up with like a heart of service, I feel like that's gonna make that's what my family needs from me, I guess. What do you think, honey?
You know, as you were sharing, Father Tim, about the shepherd with the most scars being picked, I was thinking about a few things, not to get into too much detail.
Louise. All right, go on. No, go for it.
But for example, one of the things that is a joy, but also, causes me a little pain, but I'm willing to endure it because it's just such a joy to be with my son, is when we're on the floor wrestling or something, he loves to pull my hair. And as much as I hate it, he just loves it. And then he loves to, nuzzle me. And sometimes he bumps his little head on my chin or something, and it's a little painful and uncomfortable, but we're having so much fun and there's so much joy, and I want to be close to him. And sometimes there's little bumps and things like that, but it's taking care of him, like being close to him. And I don't know, when you mentioned that about the shepherd, I also thought of the other image that is used for God sometimes, like as a mother, as a hen, draws in her little chicks, and here's my little chick, and I'm just trying to protect him and take care of him.
As you're getting currently beat up by the paper plate.
Yes.
I see this thing lived out right here, even, which is beautiful.
But he's having so much fun playing with the paper plate.
He's totally rocking it.
But you know what? It is so, it's so weird what having another person to take care of can brings into a home and into a marriage. And like where you're saying, you're finding it brings both that opportunity to serve, but also the opportunity to be selfish also, because you are overwhelmed. And, a lot of times it's like, I can't even think about giving anything to you because I'm just barely surviving,
Mm-hmm.
And so I love, Matt, that you were talking about like how, it doesn't come naturally. We have to like start a day and think like that because it's not something that might be our first instinct when we're so overwhelmed at 11 months is to how can I make this a great day, for them. And
yeah, definitely. I almost have to prime myself for it and like be intentional about it, or else it won't happen. Yeah, just because I think my nature at least is, all right, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
And then I have to say, whoa, hang on. What am I called to do today?
Yeah.
It's more like that. So it's a blast. It's a blast, though. We've learned a lot in these 11 months.
I think one of the things I learned in the first year of priesthood was I learned the unglorious side of fatherhood.
Sure.
Because there's lots of things that we think it's going to be like, and then it definitely is not like that most of the time. Like, what happened to the glorious side of all of this? What happened to these glory stories we hear? But most of it is kind of choosing to love and choosing to serve and choosing to, go the extra mile when you don't want to and to wake up when you don't want to and all of this kind of pieces, I think even we were talking a little bit earlier about, Jesus being misunderstood about his kingdom, and how sometimes in the Christian life, things aren't what we think they were going to be like. We thought that discipleship was going to be fun until we get into it and we're like, wow, this is not so fun after all. It's beautiful and meaningful, but like, it's not what the fun part we thought it would have been, or the adventure per se. But what has been maybe the surprise for you, or what some of the things you didn't expect in marriage or family life that has been, once you were able to kind of see that in a new, different way, it was able to really be a blessing?
Do you want to go?
You can start off.
Sure. I think. Can you ask the question again? Because I had something. It was like, what's unexpected?
Something that you had an expectation of, and maybe either wasn't fulfilled or something else happened. But then kind of just approaching it with an openness allowed you to really see it as a blessing.
Okay, I think it's like almost accepting that there's going to be bumps. So it's really hard for me to one, see your kid cry. Two, it's way harder when you were on duty and like he fell and got a bump. And then I don't know, maybe the hardest for me is if someone else was on duty and then my kid's crying because you let him go. But I think, because I did not expect that. I never knew that was going to be a part of it, that other kids watch your kid and then he's going to get bumps. But in truth, I think you'll learn, I at least have learned a little bit to almost be okay with it. Like to almost say like, this is okay. And it's happened to every person, every little baby, every person has had bumps and bruises, and it's just part of it. And if I can try and draw a parallel to how the Lord in his kingship sees us, is he probably knows like there's gonna be some bumps on these people as they try to figure it out. And I don't love it. I don't love when bumps and bruises are happening, but it's gonna happen. And I'm okay with it. So like be okay with it and they're gonna come out, a little bit stronger. So that's I think one thing that I saw or I've experienced as the unexpected.
That point too it's funny because for your generation of parents, okay, they are using the term lawnmower parents, okay, and so the idea
Lawnmower or helicopter? Lawnmower or helicopter?
No, helicopter is the last generation.
What is lawnmower?
Lawnmowers, these guys.
I hadn't heard the term lawnmower. I had heard the term, which is even less appealing, bulldozer parents.
Okay,
But I want to hear both.
Okay, wait. What is this?
So lawnmower, and lawnmower is probably just a softer way
Of saying it,
of
yes.
saying bulldozer.
Being in the education.
But it's just that there is parents are feeling the need to not have any bumps and scrapes, and so they'll just kind of bulldoze or put out of the way anything they can that could possibly cause a scar or and what we were talking about, scars, and what you're saying is that a part of all that is growing, and so I think there's a tendency for us to not, as parents, to allow our kids to have that growth that comes from the
Learning from your experience.
yes
Okay, I'm not going to go next to the TV, or I'm not going to, touch this or that.
and that sometimes that happens with a bully at school or a this or that. We can't fix all, that this is a part of what makes our kids who they are, the chiseling. This is a part of the chiseling, but they are saying that's a big issue for today's parents is, and failure, disappointment, how can we try to move that at a distance for them, and you're right, like sometimes if we take them to someone else, we can't control exactly how, but yet generations, this has happened, when we've been okay with it, but somehow I feel like that's just a lot of pressure for young parents that you guys are under that way of looking at things, and that I don't know. I know the world is kind of screaming that at you, but I say bumps and bruises are a good deal.
I think so, and I've come to see that.
Yeah.
So are the bulldozer and the lawnmower similar?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so
Same concept.
What's interesting, I mean, both of what you said here, it connects to even in Jesus, right? Like he understands what the bumps and bruises mean, and he's willing to be, he's willing to endure the hurt that it proves on him too. Because it hurts you to see your child hurting.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it hurts the Lord to see us hurting as well, but he's willing to endure that, I think, as the king who would sacrifice himself on the cross again if he needed to have us with him, And I think that's such a crazy image of God, a God who would, endure us. And I think maybe the fear is not the fear of the kids getting hurt. I think it's the fear so much of the parents don't want to feel the hurt of their kids getting hurt,
Sure. There's definitely truth in that.
And that's like, I call that like the risk of love, is the risk of that it's gonna be disappointing sometimes, and it's gonna be all that kind of stuff. So, wow, we went deep today. Glory to God.
One thing I wanted to say though, as you were talking, Matt, is just having you share about feeling protective and about it's so beautiful to hear a young dad saying that, that's come out in you. And it's just reminding me how much I want to empower young men to also be the heads of their homes, and
Sure.
and live their faith, because I speak a lot to families and I just read all these statistics, and just, you have such an opportunity, especially in raising a son, to really model things that they're saying, when dads live their faith out and they have sons, it's so close to 100% that they will continue that as a lifelong thing with their own families. So it's beautiful to see the beginnings of that.
Well, thank you. I love every minute, and I have a good dad and have had many great examples, grandparents and uncles and all that, and so I'm very blessed, and it's definitely a joy. It really is. So thank you, Pam, and I love it. I'm buddy.
To be the king of the house, that comes off with a bad connotation, right? Like he's the king, but really, if we take
the shepherd of the house, sounds softer.
The king shepherd of the house being the shepherd of the house. Yeah. Actually, what's interesting in the Franciscan orders, they don't have superiors of houses. They call them servants, or
I like that.
Stewards or something like that. It's a different approach to it. So they don't call them the superiors. They call them the guardians. They're the ones they're the ones who care for the home, rather than it being something like I'm whatever I say goes. I'm the king.
I think that's the right approach. Yeah. It's just it's not about I'm in charge. I don't think that's the right way to go about it. I think it's like I'm responsible for your well-being, and I'm going to do everything I can. Something more along those lines. But Elizabeth shared something with me, and I liked it. She said something like that, and I think she heard it from somewhere. So it was like, the best way for a dad to love their kid is to love the mom.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and it's just like to be good to the kid's mom. Because that relationship is just super important, right?
Yes.
Child to mother and so on. And I know, he sees me and he hears me if there's tension in my voice or if I'm acting out. I know he sees it, and I know a day will come where he can mimic that. And I only want him to mimic the good stuff, or I only want to demonstrate the good stuff. But am I quoting that right?
Yeah, I don't remember where I heard it from, but it must have been, I don't know if it was in a book I read or I don't know what, but it was something along the lines of, for a dad, the best way to love your kids is to love your wife.
Yeah.
Because that right, the father and mother are like the unit, right? That the kids are gonna circle around, and like you were saying, they mimic everything that they see. Luca totally mimics us. So I think children really learn a lot, right, from parents who are the first primary providers of everything: faith, love, everything.
And I think we can go a step further with that quote too, love your wife. And then also I was reading, there's a Mother Teresa quote that says, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family.
Yes.
Yes.
And just if we could start there, just like you're saying, the modeling, the examples, all, the way we talk to each other. I mean, we are teaching we're teaching them how to forgive and how to, and how to cope, and equipping them with conscience and all these things. And so I really believe that's the secret. I mean, is just, to look more at how we teach people to love within our home.
And often it's harder. It's harder to love. Sometimes it's so easy to love somebody who you don't even know, but you see them and they're obviously in need or want of something, and you can kind of give that and then never see that person again. But as Mother Teresa kind of encourages us to do, is love that person who you see daily or regularly, and you know everything about love that person. Geez, that is a high task.
Yeah.
And a good
It
reminder.
is. And it,
Yeah, it's easier to love as a minister in some ways than it is to love as a, husband and wife, because you know all the things. Like you saying, yeah, totally.
So thank you for that reminder. That's right on.
that Mother Teresa is brilliant.
She is. She's got
I know.
a lot of them.
Like that's someone I just would, like how you're like someone I would have liked to have met. Is just like hang out with her for 6 months would have been just the pearls you would have.
It would change your life for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Damon.
I've never met anyone who, like, regardless of faith traditions, like, will not say, like, oh, they love Mother Teresa.
Yes.
You
Great point.
She's just a universal
Yeah.
model, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, right? She's a saint. Like,
Yeah.
she's
Yes.
modeled
Yeah.
after
right.
her life after our Lord. So
We love as well for our families to share a tradition or something you do regularly that helps, helps bring love and mercy and those kind of things into your home. And is there something you guys do regularly that kind of supports you in this great task you have as parents and family?
Absolutely. We do a couple things. Elizabeth, do you want to share any of them?
So normally when we have our little bedtime routine, right? So we're trying to have Mr. Luca sleep through the night. And he's pretty good most nights. We have our little routine, and normally I'm the one that gives him his last bottle, and I sit with him in a little rocking chair. And while he's having his last bottle and I'm rocking him, Matt will normally come over and read him a story, or read him a book, and then say our prayers. He'll say, "All right, buddy, it's time for our prayers." And so we'll have a little family prayer time just before Luca goes down for the night. That's one way that we try to bring in our faith to our son and our family life.
Definitely. And we go to mass every week, and we've also like tried to start some traditions, and we've kind of like fallen off. We used to pray rosaries before mass, which was great, and then I don't know, kind of let it slip a little bit, but I'd love to bring it back. So we're trying to bring that one back. But yeah, we hit mass every weekend, or attend mass every weekend, I should say. And then I like to go on Elizabeth's thing. I want to be there to read bedtime stories and say prayers. Like, I want to be there. I don't care what I did. That's almost for me to see my son or my baby close his eyes and go like, all right, we're here. Just sleep peacefully.
Yeah.
We're right here. So, my mom would read to us, and so I think reading's good. Go ahead, Pam.
No, I was just going to say that tradition, that to have that intimacy every day, to know that there's going to be that intimacy, that the lower voices, that whatever that that holding, where you're holding him and stuff. It's so important because it means safety, it means love, and when you as you have to begin disciplining and discipling and all the other, I just think that intimacy is such, to always have that at the end of your day, no matter what's happened, as things get a little tougher, as they get have to be just different things. Just coming together, all together, to be held is so important. Never ever stop that tradition.
Thank you.
Never.
Thank you. Yeah.
And such a great way to bring God into that in the midst of our prayers too. That prayers maybe, including the scripted prayers we know, but, inviting just God's grace and his mercy into all those moments of the day too is so important. Such a great model to give to our families. 'Cause that's how we learn faith. This is how he's learning faith from you guys.
It's true. And we learned it from our parents. And
in that same way, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, keep it up. And then they'll want it too. And they'll no, where's the bedtime prayers? Like when they're in that place, they'll ask for them if you forget, or if you had that day, you're like, oh, we're just going to bed. Like, no, we need bedtime prayers,
And now I always think too, and it's so hard to see it when you're your age, but like, I think about like just how having that, and now, soon, I'm not going to be a grandma yet.
Just putting that out there.
Yeah, just saying that out there. But just knowing, just like, oh my gosh, like those are the things I want, is to just like, to, I mean, that's what I hope I've done, is that I go, to my kids' homes and they're doing that, with their kids at night. Because then, I mean, that was the parenting piece. I mean, that's the important stuff. So
Absolutely.
good.
We
Crying
hope you guys
again.
I know. Just can't get through a podcast without crying. Just kidding. That's beautiful. I mean, that you're connected with the material. We hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Hopefully you spend it with
you.
your
as well.
families.
Thank you.
And as we dive into Advent,
Yes.
right around the corner after this,
Yes.
Christ the King, and
That's right.
to really be able to prepare our hearts to receive again. Not just receive God, but to receive each other, I think that's such an important part of Advent for me this year, is how we're receiving each other. Because it's such in a world that we need to be received, heard,
Yes.
known, experienced. That's my prayer for your family as well, that you can receive each other in love and also joyful expectation as well. So,
Father, that's a great message, to receive others, to open the circle, like to make room at the lunch table,
Yeah.
to pick your head up and look around and see who needs an invitation. Like, thank you for that message. Thank you.
amen. Hopefully we'll work together with it on the way to this Advent.
Sure.
Because that's been really striking me this year for that event. And we'll talk about it in our next podcast.
Yeah. I was see that it's like there's a way they're saying that I've seen on Instagram and stuff, is draw your circle of family wide.
Sure.
Because that family, it can mean a very but how, like you said, I mean, who needs to be invited, and so draw your circle of family wide.